It was a hot summer afternoon, and I, Elizabeth, 60 years old, sat on the porch of my lakeside home, waiting for my nephew Luke and his friend Ethan. Luke often visited during the summer to escape the chaos of the city, and this time, he had invited Ethan to join him. Ethan was 28, fresh out of architecture school, and according to Luke, someone who could use some time to relax. This lake house had been my retreat since retirement, a place of peace and solitude. While I cherished the quiet loneliness sometimes crept in, that's why I looked forward to Luke's visits. They brought energy and liveliness back into my home. When their car pulled up, I walked out to greet them. Luke got out first, his familiar grin lighting up his face, followed by Ethan. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with an easy charm, but his dark eyes hinted at something deeper. Perhaps a restlessness he didn't fully understand. "Aunt Liz," Luke wrapped me in a warm hug. "Hope you don't mind I brought Ethan. He's been dying to see this place." "It's lovely to meet you, Ethan. You're more than welcome here," I said with a smile. "The pleasure's mine, Elizabeth," he replied, his handshake firm and his voice warm. "Luke's told me so much about you." The afternoon was pleasant. While they swam in the lake, I prepared a simple yet hearty lunch. We ate on the porch, and Ethan proved to be an engaging storyteller. He made me laugh with tales of his college years and professional mishaps. But what struck me most was his attentiveness. He wasn't just polite. He truly listened, his dark eyes holding mine in a way that made me feel seen, as if he were peeling back the layers I thought I had hidden so well. Later, Luke went to rest, leaving Ethan and me alone on the porch. We talked as the sun began to set, casting golden reflections on the lake. Our conversation shifted from light topics to more personal ones. "This place is incredible," he said, his gaze on the water. "It feels like the kind of place where you could finally hear yourself think." "It is," I admitted. "But sometimes the silence can feel lonely." He turned to look at me, his expression thoughtful. "I can imagine. But I think it takes a lot of strength to embrace that kind of solitude. Not many people can." His words hit me harder than I expected. His voice was steady, but his gaze held an intensity I wasn't used to. The air between us seemed to shift, filled with something unspoken. But before I could dwell on it, we moved on to safer topics. That evening, as I lay in bed, I couldn't shake the image of his face or the sound of his voice. There was something about him that lingered, something unsettling yet strangely comforting. The next day, while Luke swam again, Ethan offered to help me prepare lunch. In the kitchen, our movements were synchronized, our conversations easy. Then, as we reached for the same plate, our hands brushed. It was a fleeting touch, but it felt electric. "You ever notice how time seems to slow down here?" he asked, breaking the moment, but not the tension. "Yes, that's what I love about this place," I replied. He smiled, his eyes locking with mine. "Maybe that's why every moment here feels more intense." His words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Before either of us could say anything else, Luke walked in, shattering the moment. When they left later that afternoon, the house felt emptier than usual. Ethan hugged me goodbye, his arms lingering just long enough for me to notice. "Thank you, Elizabeth. This weekend meant more to me than I can say," he said, his voice low and sincere. As their car disappeared down the road, I sat alone, replaying every look, every word, every unspoken feeling. Over the following weeks, I tried to push Ethan out of my mind, but it was no use. The way he had looked at me, the way he had listened, those memories stayed with me, stirring emotions I hadn't felt in years. Then, one evening, Luke messaged me. "Ethan's asking if he could come up to the lake for a weekend by himself. Would you mind?" I hesitated, but ultimately said yes. When Ethan arrived, he seemed different, quieter, more contemplative. The first day passed easily, filled with small talk and comfortable silences. But that night, as we sat on the porch under a sky full of stars, he finally spoke. "Elizabeth, I don't know how to say this without sounding strange, but this place and you have made me see things differently. I don't think I've ever met anyone like you." His words sent a shiver through me. I felt exposed, unsure of how to respond. "Ethan," I began cautiously, "I think you're just overwhelmed by everything here, the calm, the quiet. It makes emotions feel heightened." "No," he said firmly, his gaze unwavering. "This isn't just the place. It's you. I haven't been able to stop thinking about you." I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came. The truth was, I felt it too. The pull, the connection.